What's up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 15 in my 4th annual 31 Days of Horror. This is a series in which we watch and review 31 horror films in 31 days, all during the month of October, leading right up to Halloween. Of course, this year we are tackling the entire Universal Monsters box set. Continuing along in the 40s, we have another Mummy film. This time from the year 1942, we have The Mummy's Tomb. Now, The Mummy's Tomb takes place, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 30 years after The Mummy's Hand, which kind of is weird because it would mean that the film was taking place in like the 60s or 70s, but it's clearly the 40s. So obviously the films can't predict the future, at least most of the time. So it kind of is weird that they set it so far into the future. We have the priest who is kind of in old age makeup now from the previous film who survived, and he takes the mummy Charis to America to kill off the people who desecrated the tomb. And then the mummy sort of just starts killing people along with the priest who is trying to get a bride who captures a young woman. That's pretty much your story. This one starts off about 15 minutes into the film. It's only like an hour long, and the first 15 minutes are all flashbacks to the previous film, which was The Mummy's Hand. So it's sort of a bit annoying if you have just recently watched that film, because I've always been conflicted with these type of things. The Friday the 13th films have done this, where you show what happened in the previous film to catch the audience up. On one hand, it works really well for the people who obviously didn't get to see the first film, or it's been a really long time, but for a present day person who is like marathoning them, it's actually painfully annoying. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that. It has its positives and negatives, but they do intersplice it with somebody telling a story, which kind of makes it go by a little bit better. But the problem is this film's only an hour long to begin with, so cutting out 15 minutes, you have 45 minutes of the film. The Mummy this time is played by Lon Chaney Jr. Pretty basic performance, very stale, and just there's not much there. You can't really see any. It could have been anybody under the bandages, really. Not a standout performance from Lon Chaney Jr., who did an awesome job in The Wolfman. Anyway, this one is, honestly, it's kind of like a slasher film, but the kills are very tame and boring. The mummy just walks up on somebody, grabs them, and then takes them off screen. It's funny because he moves so slow and he's shuffling around and he's all damaged from the previous film, yet he catches everybody. So definitely a little bit cheesy by today's standards. I really didn't care for this one that much. I mean, there were certain moments that were cool, but overall it's a cheap, unimaginative, just pure cash-in sequel that adds nothing to the story. It doesn't progress the mythology or anything, really. It is just 45 minutes of a mummy killing people with a, borderline, unimaginative, boring plot. I give it a 4.5 out of 10. Not a fan of this one at all.